You're listening to ayahuascapodcast.com.
Where I am now and after ayahuasca, the one thing I noticed, I feel a lot more. I was always a guy, and I know a lot of men have this, but I was someone who pushed emotions away and kind of ran from my emotions with everything, with my woman, with life. I was family. I was always trying to live in the chill zone. And thus I labeled emotions, or I ran from my emotions. I ran from emotions. After ayahuasca, I'm feeling emotions. Maybe for the first time, like really strongly. And I'm not running away from them. It's a learning lesson. It's something that that I am working on. It's like, no, you're fucking stressed right now. That's okay. Like, feel that stress. You can do things like go to the gym, do things to help alleviate that stress, but identify those emotions and don't run away from them. I'm upset with my wife or my fiance. Like, well, instead of running away, talk to her. Why are you upset about it?
Hi guys, and welcome to Ayahuasca Podcast. As always, with the host Sam Lipman. Today I'm having a conversation with Sam Lipman-Stern. Sam is a good friend of mine. We're doing a documentary together on topic of ayahuasca. Sam also is a Emmy-nominated documentary director. We talk about Sam and his journey, synchronicities that led to us meeting, his initial skepticism about ayahuasca, cultural misconceptions about ayahuasca, his journey on stopping antidepressants and preparation for his ayahuasca experience. We talk about his mainstream media career and burnout, talk about Rebranding Colombia from cocaine to ayahuasca, power of storytelling, making integration more engaging and less boring, dark humor and storytelling. We talk about therapy and ayahuasca for healing trauma and depression, how ayahuasca gave him a name for his daughter to be born soon, post-Ayahuasca emotional vulnerability, criticism of big pharma and antidepressants, challenging post-Ayahuasca integration, and Sam's daily routine to maintain his integration. It's a very packed episode and a very interesting one. Enjoy it. This episode is sponsored by La Huayra Ayahuasca Retreat. At La Huayra, we combine affordability, accessibility, and authenticity. La Huayra, connect, heal, grow. Guys, I'm looking forward to hosting you. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, my friend. It's great to be here.
So we're recording, coming to you from our new podcast studio. This is something that's very recent. As you can see in the background, you can see the Cerro Bravo mountain. You can see La Huayra Maloca, and if you're watching the show on video, you'll be able to see some people in Maloca and some action as a retreat is happening right now. So, first of all, Sam, great to have met you. You've been a good friend, and it's very exciting that now you came to La Huayra as a patient. We're working on this documentary, which I'm sure will be life-changing, and probably going to spread the word about ayahuasca far and wide. First of all, let's talk about synchronicities and whether you consider the way we met each other a synchronicity.
Yes, synchronicities. The way we met each other was wild. It was really wild. I was doing, as you remember, I was doing I've been here in Colombia 4 years, so that those that don't know, I grew up in New Jersey. I lived in New York City a bunch of years. I lived in Los Angeles a bunch of years. I met you maybe, was it 2021?
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. And we met right after I had this really powerful sweat lodge experience. Have you ever done the sweat lodge?
Yep.
Yeah. So where you, for those that don't know, it's this Native American tradition. It's practiced, I believe, all over the Americas, where you essentially sweat in this tiny little, building made out of wood and covered in sacks, burlap sacks, and you just sweat. it's a pretty psychedelic experience. It can be. It's really intense. But right after that experience, we met at like kind of a little barbecue right after it, where
and I just before meeting him, I also was doing San Pedro medicine, so we're both kind of still tripping a little bit.
yeah, and you were manning the barbecue, and we just started talking, and you asked me, you know, what do you do, and I mentioned that I was a videographer, and I remember you were totally blown away. You're like, wait, no, wait, are you serious? It's like, yeah, I do. I'm a video director. You're like, I've been fucking manifesting. I'm a video director. Like manifesting, like really putting it out there. That's crazy that you're a video director. And I had, in my own way, been manifesting the ayahuasca experience. And when I heard that you had this retreat and basically we're an expert in ayahuasca. I mean, ever since then we clicked and we've been friends. The kids are coming back, our children.
It's so fun to see them.
So cute. Oh my God, that's really adorable to see our two little 4-year-olds walking back together. That is really cute. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a lot of. Feel very blessed that we met. I don't have a lot of. I've been in Colombia, since the pandemic. I don't really have a lot of friends, and I think it's kind of rare when you meet friends as an adult and you really click and have a lot to bond over, both on a friendship level, on a spiritual level, and now this documentary that we're working on, which is, really, really exciting. So, yeah, in terms of synchronicity, I think we met for a reason. As to some that might sound crazy, but I think this is an ayahuasca podcast, so it might not sound that crazy. But I think we met for a reason. Absolutely, like I know we met for a reason. Actually, especially after doing ayahuasca 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, like I was told specifically that we met for a reason. The reason being to bring this documentary to the world that we're working on right now. That sounds wild, but we are living in the wild world of ayahuasca and medicine.
Let's talk about the documentary. What made you, like, pretty much ever since we met? So we met at that barbecue after both tripping. We manifested each other, interestingly enough. And then, it took me a while. We started like hanging out, but it took me a while to actually get you to drink ayahuasca. What took you so long, and why now, after actually doing it, you're such a believer in it?
It's a really interesting question. So yeah, and I'm totally transparently, when we first met, maybe a couple of months after we first met, we were hanging out as friends, and you're like, dude, you should do a documentary about ayahuasca. And I was right in the middle of Telemarketers, which was my last project on HBO, and I was really busy with it. But part of me was like, who's going to watch a documentary about ayahuasca? Because what I knew about it was like, yeah, like kind of the hippy dippy, dreadlock hippie dude in Sedona, Arizona. Just like, I didn't really know much, if anything, about ayahuasca. And I thought, who's really going to watch something about it? That was my initial reaction to it. But, and I was also in the middle of this big project. So I was like, man, who's going to really watch it? Because what I'd seen was kind of, I guess, almost like perverted towards the hippie side of things, which isn't accurate. It's just kind of what I see coming from the Western world.
The conception in the world right now about ayahuasca is totally skewed. It's a very sort of weird and slightly negative connotation. It's almost like a caricature of what it actually is.
100%. And that's what I was thinking when you told me it. But at the same time, I had experimented with DMT starting like 2019. And I had a very clear vision before I even came to Colombia. And I believe I filmed it because I would film my DMT experiences. And I smoked DMT, and I had a very clear vision, and it said, this is years before we met. And the vision clear as day, a voice told me, if you want to learn more, get off antidepressants, go to the jungle, and do ayahuasca. And it was like that fucking clear, dude.
It would be so cool if you actually filmed it and you can find it.
I think I might have
You
it.
still have your young face, like I know.
Oh man, I would love. Yeah, that would be amazing. I think I have it. I'm pretty sure I have it. Let's hope. At least an audio recording, because I tend to just back everything up. But yeah, man. So that had happened, and then I kind of had my own. Why did it take so long? Well, I stopped the. Telemarketers was released, did really well, thank God, and then I had kind of like some personal struggles. We were both going through some stuff at the same time, like health issues and just a lot of stress from work, and every time we'd meet up, we would speak a little bit about ayahuasca, I'd say, and I knew what you were doing. I came and saw the retreat, and it just kind of clicked. It was like, okay, this is the time to get off antidepressants, which you helped me out with a lot, microdosing, the whole thing. Get off antidepressants, and document the whole thing. Document me getting off antidepressants and start this journey with my good friend Sam, with my good friend, into this world of ayahuasca. So it was kind of like first it was resistance, mostly cultural resistance. Who's going to watch something about ayahuasca? Then it was like, okay, I kind of need this, and it's calling me. It's calling me. Like, I need to do this. I need to do ayahuasca, and I need to do this documentary, even though I didn't fully put that all together, but it just kind of started going. And then after doing it, it's like, okay, yes, I was fucking called from the moment I heard that voice in California to how we met, which was crazy synchronistic. I think that the plants I fully believe that the plants, that ayahuasca wants us to do this project, and that everything happened literally like it happened. It was meant to be. Like, it's wild.
You sound like a hippie.
I sound like a fucking hippie.
Like you're gonna sell me a crystal right now.
Dude, I actually have some crystals, so if you want to buy some.
But interestingly enough, once again, we've been massaging this idea for a long time. Skepticism on both sides, just kind of like keeping it on a back burner, but the idea was there. And then literally within the same week, I get this weird health scare where I found out that my blood sugar was high because of all the stress. And then you had your own health scare with the antidepressants where they
stopped working.
Yeah, there was some...
Right at the same time. It was literally within a week we met up, and you told me about that, and I said, antidepressants aren't working for me anymore.
And basically it was like, yeah, let's just do it. Now we're going to finally do it. Which is interesting. Like, why was it so synchronous? Because I haven't had any issues 3 years after that, before that, and neither have you. It was kind of like we had to meet up and sort of like cry about it, and then somehow, it's just there's this weird like pattern behind everything, which becomes more clear once you start drinking ayahuasca. It's like all of a sudden you kind of stop worrying about like, there's this thing that I need to do, and if I don't push for it, it will never happen. And instead you change to like, it's like you float the idea out there in the cosmos, and then eventually when the time is right, it would just all falls in place. And it's an interesting sort of worldview. But let's talk a little bit about why were you so stressed, and the whole film industry.
It's a good,
and how
really good question.
How film industry and just world in general these days is just so conducive to stress and depression.
So I've been working in the documentary world for like full time at major media companies since 2010, let's say. So that's 15 years. I started out at Vice when Vice was like, that they were huge. They were the biggest media company for documentaries at the time. I learned a lot at Vice. And then from Vice, I went on and worked at Rolling Stone magazine, which is also like major media company, but also like a cutting edge media company. And then Rolling Stone magazine, my last job was 2016. So I've been boss free since 2016, which I'm very proud of. But I continued to working for major media companies. The thing about the media industry and what I learned. So, 2016, I was working at Rolling Stone. It was during the Trump's first election. And that was the last time I watched the news. Remember I tell you that sometimes? I'm like, I don't watch the news. And sometimes it sounds crazy. They're like, you don't know about the fucking tornado that just hit and killed 1 million people in Tanzania? Or I'm like, I have no idea. Like, unless someone tells. So I stopped watching the news in 2016 because I worked at Rolling Stone magazine. And even Rolling Stone, which is considered maybe a cool company, but I saw what they were doing on the inside and how the sausages were made in the media world. And it's all that the media companies care about is clicks and dollars. That's all they care about, right? So it's all about views. It's like, what is going to get us the most views? It doesn't matter anything more. So, you know, for example, and I'm not talking politics here, but when during that 2015, 2016 Trump election, it was Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders was like a really popular candidate as well. The media in the United States gave Trump 90% more coverage than both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. So they were all just focusing on the Trump circus. Again, I got to interview Trump, which was actually kind of cool out of that whole thing. But the reason why the media gave him so much coverage is because he's fucking interesting. He's a character. He's a circus. He knows how to work the media. But the media isn't covering stories for any type of responsible journalism. Like, journalism is unfortunately very much dying. You know, maybe the journalism existed at some point, but what I saw was just clickbait, right? At Rolling Stone, how do we make clickbait? How do we get people to click? Eyeballs. I was listening to a lot of podcasts during those times, right? Like Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan podcast. And I remember I pitched an idea for a podcast to Rolling Stone, and they're like, nobody has attention spans anymore in 2015. Everyone, no, you have to think cat videos, 15-second hits. And I'm like, here me and my friends are listening to 2, 3 hour, 4 hour podcasts. And they're talking about, no one has attention spans. It's kind of a long, basically the idea, what I saw from the inside is that most major media companies only care about the bottom line. And how do we get people to watch through the commercial break? How do we hook them? That's why you see on the 10 o'clock news in the United States, death, fire, murder, baby dead, and some kittens. But that's all you see. So unfortunately, so that's basically what I saw, and that's still where we're at. It's even gotten worse to this day. In terms of where I'm at, so I'm a documentary filmmaker. I love documentary. My goal and my dream has always been try to make the world a better place. Tell stories to wake people up, to teach people something, and that's what you'll see in my work. Being an artist and being someone that wants to make projects that change the world is really fucking hard. Because the philosophy at most of the major networks, like, not to name names, but let's just think all the networks, all the platforms, is mostly the same perspective that I just said. It's how do we get people to watch through the commercial, or how do we get subscribers? Well, women like murder documentaries. Women in America love their murder documentaries. Shout out to all the women, not just in America. Okay.
My wife watches this stuff as well.
Yeah, so does mine. They love it.
I'm against it. I was like, why are you traumatizing yourself?
And we're not putting down women out there. Look, men love other shit that sucks too, whatever. Most networks, what they're telling me right now and over the last couple of years is, even after Telemarketers did great, I'd go into these meetings at major networks with the executives and, oh, we love Telemarketers so much. It was so good. We would have totally bought Telemarketers. Oh, thank you so much. Well, and I asked them, what are you guys looking for now? And they're like, murder documentaries. Yeah, we're just buying murder. That's it. Just murder? Oh, yeah, but we're not looking for the serial killers anymore. Like, we don't want the John Wayne Gacy's. That's already been done. Like, been there, done that. We want the micro murders, like the little, the Mississippi murder or murder abroad. If you can bring us a murder documentary, we'll buy it. And that's the conversation. So what is that? So you have to like what is that? It's the same reason why you see a million Spider-Man movies or the million action movies. It's because they're thinking these executives are scared to lose their jobs, and so they don't want to take risks. So for someone like me, it's always, okay, how do I align with myself with the few, they exist, the few people that think deeper than just murder documentaries that exist in the media landscape. And in order to bring projects that are more diverse and more interesting, like this ayahuasca project, if we could bring some murder into this, we'd be good. But
how are you going to change the world if you talk about murder all the time? Or like, yeah, you're going to change the world, but not...
You're making it's the problem. It's women, evil, man.
Poor women just scared to shreds in this scary world watching murder documentaries. It's like, how are you going to... Yeah, so I can see why they could make you depressed,
I was partially depressed because, here I had an Emmy nomination. I was at the highest point in my career. And I was getting all these meetings at all the networks, and I have great ideas, that actually are, really pure documentary ideas like this one, which I think this one is, in my opinion, this is one of the most important documentaries for mankind. And so I was going to these networks and being like, what are you guys looking for? And they're telling me we're just buying murder right now. So that was part of what brought me to doing ayahuasca. It was like, what is my purpose as a filmmaker in a world where, I'm kind of still an outsider, even though I have the Emmy nomination. I have the most viewed documentary on HBO. So I'm like, really, I got really high in my career, but it's always going to be a fight. And I think it's a fight, a kind of good against evil fight, murder is kind of what sex was in the 90s. There was all these TV shows like Real Sex and Sex. And I love sex. Sex is great. We need sex. It's awesome. But when you kind of like...
I love murder.
I love murder. Sex is, the murder. But it's like, what? Everything's balanced. We've talked about balance a lot, I think, in our conversations. And I think... in storytelling, there needs to be balance. It can't be all murder, and if it is, then these networks are really doing something evil.
Yeah,
and people are going to lose interest. That's why we have this platform. We have YouTube. We have podcasts. Why these networks are going to kill themselves? They're going to murder themselves if they don't take risks on things. They took a risk on Telemarketers, and it got an Emmy nomination. And it got, most viewed doc and all these awards. It's all about taking risks, just like everything great in life.
Yeah. Let's help those networks.
Yeah.
Netflix, if you're listening, Netflix did a lot of harm to Colombia by producing Narcos. It was 30 years ago. Let it go. Why are you still talking about it? But they popularized it. Some people think that what they're watching on Netflix is happening right now. So Netflix has to pick up this documentary because here we're going to make an attempt to rebrand Colombia from cocaine to ayahuasca. But you said, this documentary is very important. It's going to change the lives. I totally agree with you. Why does the world deserve to know about ayahuasca?
So it's so interesting. The world. So what I didn't, as we've been making this documentary, one of the things that was important to me, it's just my personal style, is I didn't want to do any research before we filmed. So I really didn't. And I just learned as we went along, as we went to the Amazon, as we interviewed the shamans, as we interviewed suicidal police officers here, or we interviewed, just all sorts of people, interviewing you, interviewing the Taita's, father, interviewing all kinds of people, right? Which we've done. I learned along the way. So if you would have asked me, why is this project important before ayahuasca, I would have given you a different answer before actually doing ayahuasca. I mean, after doing so before doing ayahuasca, it's like, okay, this is a really interesting story. From what I've seen out there, it hasn't been done well. The documentary about ayahuasca. There's tons of stuff that exists on YouTube. I've watched it. I've watched a lot of it. Just unfortunately, it's not done the way that I would want to see a documentary done. It hasn't been done well. They fucking suck, is what I'm trying to say. And not everybody. I'm sure one of you guys out there has a good one. But first, if pre doing ayahuasca, my thought was, this is an interesting story because it hasn't been done before. There hasn't been a very in-depth documentary exploring ayahuasca. As I got to know the characters, getting to know you, your story was very interesting. That's one of the reasons why I was drawn to it. I think your story of coming from Latvia, having a very going down a path of a successful path as an engineer, but where you could have just lived a very comfortable, normal life, but then being like, this isn't for me, and then traveling the world, finding ayahuasca, building this retreat. To me, that's and then having the goal of trying to turn Colombia, where most people to this day, when I tell them I live in Colombia, they say, isn't it dangerous, Pablo Escobar? So for your goal to be,
dangerous Pablo Escobar, cocaine cartel.
Dude, every fucking time, bro.
Oh, maybe if you're lucky, coffee.
Maybe if you're lucky. So for your goal, when I heard it, of trying to turn Colombia from being known for cocaine and violence to ayahuasca and plant medicine, I thought that's incredible.
And nature and natural beauty.
Exactly.
And good people.
Yeah, totally, man. So first was, okay, this is an interesting story. What is ayahuasca? I'm meeting all these interesting characters like yourself, like the shaman, like some of the people at the retreat. Let's do a great documentary about ayahuasca. I didn't know what ayahuasca really was. I knew it was some kind of a psychedelic that healed people. And I heard, wow, there are these life-transforming experiences. But I didn't know, because you can't really know until you try it. After trying it, it was a whole other thing, man. I mean, after trying it, the medicine literally told me, and if I don't know how you describe, is it gods that I was speaking to? Was it angels? Was it plants? Was it grandmother? Was it a combination of those things? Maybe, let's just say gods or angels. The gods told me, we called you here. Thank you for coming. We were the ones that said, go to the fucking jungle and do ayahuasca, get off antidepressants. Now you're here. Thank you for coming. Well, we brought you here for a purpose. Your documentary has been blessed. You need to do it. We brought you here to make this documentary so that we can spread the word about ayahuasca, because it's the thing that's going to save humanity and planet Earth. We need more people to hear about this. And my ego was like, well, it's kind of hard to sell a documentary right now, like literally speaking to these gods. Netflix is buying murder. They're like, shut the fuck up, Sam. We brought you here for a reason. The documentary is blessed. We want you to make this so that more people can just get those seeds. It's about putting those seeds, right? What makes it, and so yeah, man. Literally the medicine said, we brought you here for a reason. And how can you fucking I'm such a logical dude, right? We have very similar stories. I was an atheist as a kid. Teenager into my 20s, I was agnostic. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. My philosophy was always, I don't believe in God because I can't see God. I was always someone, I have to see it. I have to hear it. After doing ayahuasca, I'm like, I'm a believer. I'm a believer because I saw God. I spoke to God, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm sure there's a lot of theories on what those beings are that you speak to. So why is this important? I think what I was told from these beings is that this is the most important thing. Talk about fucking having a purpose. That was one of my questions. What is my purpose in filmmaking? Like, yo, here's your fucking purpose. You got to make this documentary.
Yeah, I I would say you sound like a crazy man.
I know.
Except if I did not believe everything you say myself, and I didn't have a very similar message from the medicine as well. And it's the reason I think is what I used to think about ayahuasca and understand how people think about ayahuasca is based on, preconceived notions and stuff you hear here and there. And it's just a wrong view of ayahuasca or psychedelics at large. We've been programmed to see them negatively. Now, after have been running this retreat for 4 years and hosted thousands of people and seeing what it does to them and what it did to me, I have a totally different view of this medicine. And there's nothing more important right now than to get people to change their opinion. Because the difference between somebody killing themselves or somebody living a happy life can be as simple as them doing an ayahuasca retreat. I thoroughly believe that Kurt Cobain's and all those famous, the solo guy from Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Like if they would have,
Anthony Bourdain was
all those amazing people that were struggling emotionally, I am 100% convinced if you could give them ayahuasca and good integration, they would still be with us.
I totally agree.
You have some
I
people
1,000% agree.
like buying one-way tickets here because they think if this doesn't work, nothing else will, and they get better, they feel better. So I think that culturally, there's mental health crisis and there's no solution. And ayahuasca offers that solution. And the thing that stops people from doing it is the fear and that they just haven't seen the other way of looking at it. And if we can take them through this journey of them first seeing this documentary, like, I'm going to watch this because I want to see the happy, crazy hippies and just laugh at them and take them through the journey till in the end where they're like, oh my God, I might actually need this stuff. And then we can save them. And I believe save the world as well, because it's almost an arms race between good and evil, where the evil is trying to destroy the world and the good is trying to prevent it from happening. Not trying to say we're superheroes, we're just normal guys, but the evil is also just normal guys. It's just normal guys that do their job to make their wage, but they are part of something that creates a lot of harm, and we're part of something that does the opposite. So it's very invisible, this sort of fight. We all think we're good, but, so anything that I just talked about, anything you want to comment on?
Yeah, so that was another interesting thing about the ayahuasca, which was, it was showing me, and by the way, I love I love documentaries that feature crazy people. Like, I love character-driven stories. I'm a fucking weird dude. I'm a crazy motherfucker. I always have been. I've always been an outsider. I've never fit in. I've always been a weirdo. I mean, I live in Colombia, which most people don't. And whenever I jump on a Zoom with, actually Netflix Tomorrow or other companies, and I'm like, where do you live? Colombia. They're like, wait, what? You live in Colombia? I've always been that dude. I've always been out. I backpacked from Los Angeles to Chile for 6 months. So I want people to enjoy the crazy. Like, listen to this shit or watch our documentary and see, and you can judge it however you want. Like, we can people can take it however they want. I think people will, even those people that, are joking and laughing, oh, look at those crazy people or those, hippies. I think seeds are interesting how they grow. Just like our documentary, you put the seed into my head 3 years ago. Hey, dude, what about doing a documentary on ayahuasca? It's a really interesting subject. And I was like, nah, not sure. Well, I think it's going to be the same thing with this documentary. That the goal is getting people to watch it. Just getting people to watch it. And the seeds will grow.
It took 3 years for the seed to grow. Now it can take us 3 years to produce it. And then I'm assuming 3 years later, lots of people will come to do ayahuasca. So I need to get ready to build more cabins.
Yeah, more cabins. We need more cabins. Ayahuasca showed me that it was other just really clear visions, like basically that we are all so powerful. Like, every person has their gift and gifts. And our goal or what our goal on this earth should be, which we lost. Like we lost a lot of knowledge at some point. Maybe it was religion, just knowledge was wiped out is what the medicine told me. And our goal, our human goal is partially to find our gift, which we have, and fucking and chase that motherfucker, like really nourish that gift, whatever that gift is. And I think part of the evil, like we're talking about the evil, is people that are getting complacent in their jobs. It's like if you're getting complacent in your job and you're not chasing and you're not pursuing your gift, which you have a gift, everyone has a gift. I believe that. Well, it's all part of this like evil, right? It's like only watching murder documentaries on Netflix, being complacent in your comfortable job, which I get it. I understand. I get the idea. Like if someone asked me, should I get into filmmaking? I'd be like, oh, I really want to do filmmaking. I'm like, if someone asked me if they should be a filmmaker, I would say, you can't do it for the money, because you're not going to make money for the first 10 years. It's got to be for the love of it.
I say the same thing about people asking me about starting an ayahuasca retreat. If you're in it for money, you're going to lose.
You can't. So, I think what the medicine was like, basically like, you have a gift. Your gift is filmmaking, and also said you're a warrior of light. More hippie shit. I know, crystals, all that. Told me I was a warrior of light, and I believe it. I'm like, I am a warrior of light. I always have been. I've always tried to make the world a better place, do good by my friends, do good in my filmmaking. I think there is kind of a battle, and I think ayahuasca is on whatever ayahuasca is, whatever that technology is, like maybe you said maybe it's a lost technology. It's pushing us forward to get more people to find out about this, because it's a beacon of light. And it's so fucking crazy that we're talking about it like this, because you would have never heard me uttering these words. I was such a fucking skeptical. I was such an atheist, and then agnostic. I would have never, like, I sound religious almost. Yeah. And I believe it.
And given that you sounded even more religious right after the experience, now how much time has passed? Like,
I think it's a month and a half.
So.
Month and a half.
Yeah, it does that to you in a way. People are afraid to drink ayahuasca because they're afraid they're going to lose themselves and never find it. But you're still the same person, just like slightly nicer. But yeah, your spiritual views can change drastically. But let's go back to the filming process. Yeah. So there are a couple documentaries. They're all a little boring. I know what you're talking about. Even me, myself, ayahuasca is my life. I run an ayahuasca retreat. I have an ayahuasca podcast. I have filming an ayahuasca documentary. I'm ayahuasca everything.
Yeah.
Basically, at least for now, I'm fully dedicated to the topic of ayahuasca. But I watch these things and I get bored. I can't see them. I just get bored. So what are we going to do different? Or how is it going to be different that you just won't be able to stop watching it?
If anyone out there has seen Telemarketers, and if you haven't, go check it out. It's on HBO Max. If someone told you should watch this documentary about telemarketers, you'd be like, hell no, I'm not watching that. That sounds so boring. About telemarketing, like something that I hate. But I would say in a similar way, those that might run from the idea of ayahuasca because of preconceived notions are going to have an incredible ride. They're going to go on a ride, like a roller coaster ride, when they watch our film. And that was what we were able to do with Telemarketers. We took people on this crazy, like, gonzo journalism, stoner comedy, investigation into the police, and with humor, man. That's one of the things that if you're not, I said this about Telemarketers, and I'll say the same thing about this. If you're not laughing at points when you watch ayahuasca, our documentary, it shouldn't be. I don't think it's not the documentary that we discussed. I think that what's going to make this what some of the pitfalls of some of the other ayahuasca documentaries, it's all serious. It's all serious. It's all leaned towards the spiritual side of things. And because of that,
It's too vanilla.
it's too vanilla. It's super, they're very vanilla, these documentaries.
And ayahuasca is so diverse and interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
We don't make vanilla documentaries over here. So I think that what's gonna make this differently is because it's gonna be, and pardon my language, I grew up in New Jersey, so I curse like a sailor, but it's gonna be a fucking wild ride. And it's going to be funny, and it's going to be sad. I mean, it's going to be deep. You're going to be watching me getting off of antidepressants after 9 years. I mean, a lot of people can relate to that. Hearing some of the stories in the word circles of women, a woman who was anorexic disappearing, and what ayahuasca did for her. I mean, that was, for me, that was really emotional. A police officer who's protecting this child from an abusive dad, and then he finds the abusive dad who had murdered the child. The police officer finds him, and he becomes suicidal. Remember, he was here during the retreat.
Here's the murder documentary.
There's we got the murder. Netflix. No, I was kidding. So,
yeah, it's not funny at all.
Not funny. But funny too.
Yeah.
Dark humor. Humor is okay. We love comedy. We like humor. We want to show all those levels, man. From the darkness, mental health issues, the comedy, to the craziness. Like, yeah, it's fucking, laugh at me. I'm talking about, I learned that we're a race of lost gods. Laugh at that if you don't believe it. Like, that's good. Like, question everything. I always say question everything. Watch the journey, be entertained, and then learn something from it, and question your own. Eventually, I think people that have done it are going to love it. People who have done ayahuasca are going to love this, because they're going to learn a lot more than what they already know. One other thing I noticed from just watching interviews with celebrities that had done ayahuasca, I was like, wait a second. They don't seem to be explaining the experience. Like a lot of celebrities on YouTube, I saw like, oh yeah, I did it one night and I didn't really feel that much, but I think it changed me. And I'm like, no, that's not. I think a lot of people aren't even doing it right.
No, I think a lot of people do it for the bucket list. They just drink it one night, barely feel anything, check it off the list, and move on, because a lot of people are afraid to actually face what the ayahuasca will want to show them.
So I think people are going to learn so much from this. There's where this can also be like not just a wild ride, a really interesting story of my personal experience into this world that you've brought me into, but also kind of a Bible to ayahuasca. I mean, learning about integration. I mean, that was huge. I had no idea, like, before we started, how
integration is a very valuable but very boring topic.
So fucking boring.
We leave it till the very end.
It's so boring, but so important.
The last episode of the last season.
Yes, exactly. Integration, so important, but so boring.
But it's so important, though. I
think it's just the word integration.
We need to find, if you can find how to make integration interesting, you can make anything interesting. Let's do an integration course.
I think I got some ideas on the integration element.
So let's talk about humor, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty funny. Just even
vomiting is hilarious.
Vomiting or people tripping together, and just all the stories, and like you filming yourself while you're tripping.
Dude, that was so hilarious. That was so funny. And just trying to be, I was trying to be conscious. Like I was directing the documentary while tripping on ayahuasca, and it was hilarious. It was so funny. I was also trying to be conscious of everybody else. You and I did an interview together while I'm on the ground, like, I was kind of, we'd be speaking, having a deep conversation, and I just kind of zone off into space, and you're still, stuff like that is beautiful, man. The weirder, the better.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day ceremony as well. So normally I ask guests about their story in the beginning, like what brought them to ayahuasca. I want to do it different with you.
Yeah.
Now closer to the end of the episode. But tell us your life story and tell us which parts ayahuasca illuminated for you, because there are a few moments that I remember It was like clearly shown to you.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting thing, specifically about like you protecting that kid and then you realizing what would happen if you had a happy childhood.
Yeah. So so I grew up in New Jersey, central New Jersey, which is like one of the most, pause for a second. Oh, yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, one of the most diverse places on planet Earth in terms of human diversity. So I grew up in an apartment complex. My parents were like hippies, Jewish hippies. So we grew up in this apartment complex. So imagine, we are in the middle of nature. Where I grew up, it was just brick buildings. And your downstairs neighbor is Latvian. Your to the right is Colombian. To the left is from Africa, like just came over fleeing a civil war. Upstairs is Indian. And you're just a bunch of kids playing, and it was really cool. Like, I didn't think about it. When I was a kid, but looking back on it, what an education. You're going and eating all these different foods and going into these different cultural worlds. One of the things that I remembered from in the ayahuasca experience, while I was on ayahuasca, is I had a vision about growing up, being maybe 9 or 10 in this apartment complex in New Jersey. And I was fighting a lot, like just fighting other kids. And I started thinking, like, why is ayahuasca showing me this like really vivid visual of me beating up other children? Like, this is negative. Like, I didn't like that about myself. And ayahuasca grandmother was like, no, look closer what you're doing. And I was actually beating up bullies to defend smaller children that were being bullied in my neighborhood. And it was a really emotional moment for me. I actually started crying, like kind of out of joy and just overwhelmed, because ayahuasca was like, look what you were doing. You were literally protecting as a fucking 9-10-year-old kid. You're punching bullies in the face that are picking on little kids. Like, that's your purpose. That's who you are. Like, you can't don't give yourself some credit. That's what ayahuasca was saying. Like, that's all part of your purpose. Telling stories right now that are hard, that aren't murder documentaries, and pushing against the grain, like being a voice for the voiceless in a way, that's doing charity. Like, we do a lot of charity work, like you as well. I didn't think about those. I never thought about that I used to fight bullies. It never was part of my consciousness until ayahuasca. And that was a really powerful moment. Also combined with, became part of my question. One of my intentions was, what's my purpose in life and in film? I used to have these dreams, man, for years before doing ayahuasca, and they stopped after ayahuasca, where I lived in this apartment complex, and I was like 38 or 35 or 30, whatever year, a grown man, and I was a loser. I never accomplished anything in my life, never accomplished anything, lived with my parents in this apartment complex, didn't have a job, didn't have a girlfriend, total loser. Like, for me, it was a nightmare to be this, right? And I would wake up in the morning, and I had mental health issues. I was fucked up. And I'd have this recurring dream for years, man. And what the ayahuasca told me was, so basically there was like a really clear division in my childhood. So growing up in this apartment complex till the age of 12 was like happy childhood. My family was whole, kind of almost like a hippie utopia in a way. It was like lots of friends. My family was great. My parents were together. When we moved out of the apartment complex, my family fell into a free fall of chaos, where I no longer lived in an emotionally safe household. And what ayahuasca told me was, we're healing you right now from this trauma. The reason why you have these reoccurring dreams is because of that. That was the last time you felt like safe, basically, in a family. There's a very clear in those apartments. So you're having these reoccurring dreams because a part of your subconscious is stuck there. And you know what? It made a lot of sense at the time, and I haven't had that dream anymore. I used to have it a lot.
So in a way, I was trying to show you that if everything was cool and you never had challenges, you would stay where you were and you would have been a loser.
Maybe. I thought of it like, I was thinking about it like, yeah, that's actually really interesting. I didn't think about it exactly like that. That makes sense too. I was kind of thinking of it like there was just part of my subconscious that just never left those apartments.
Mm-hmm.
It was like part of me never grew.
Never matured. But interesting from all those angles if you analyze it, because from the point of view of like challenges, I meet a lot of people that end up on this sort of healing journey, and all of them have like a rough story. And the story is part of who they are, because if they've never had that story, they would never become stronger.
That's a really interesting way. You just blew my mind with that perspective on it. That is a really interesting perspective as well. Like I could see that being a really interesting message.
Because let's say, and I'm not saying if you had a happy childhood, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. We're happy for you. But it is shown generally that people that have challenges, then overcome them, they become stronger.
100%. 100%.
In that case, like, let's say in a hypothetical world where everything was good, you just stayed in that apartment, but there was no desire to leave it, and you would just become, mama's boy, and maybe it shows you like a parallel reality.
You know what? I think that's really interesting. I'm going to think more about that. And I totally agree. So,
if you wanna get real trippy and start to feel a little panicky,
I like it. Let's go.
Think about that it is actually true, and what you're experiencing here is actually a dream.
I love that. I love it. I love
if I start thinking,
the trippier the better, and the panic
loopy thoughts like this, I start like
I like it, dude. I like getting. Yeah. Let's get weird, man. So that was. Oh, and yes. So one of the other things was. So after that, the family did get crazy. My parents were into polyamory, and it was like a constant battle. So my mom was the one that that brought it up. Like she wanted to be polyamorous. Well, I don't necessarily believe in monogamy. That's a whole other conversation for another podcast. But when you raise children in that environment, it needs to be very mutually accepted. It needs to be like you have to raise children healthily in a polyamorous household. There's got to be a lot. The parents have to be on the same page, and my parents were not on the same page, and so it was just kind of it was pretty wild.
It's called consensual cheating. It's like it's agreed, but it's still cheating, and there's still resentment.
That's what it was in my household, and it was like my mom wanted to bring boyfriends back to the house, and I never met any because I just stayed out of my house when things like that were happening. I didn't feel comfortable at home. Now,
that sounds pretty traumatic.
It was pretty traumatic.
In my household, my dad was a cheating one.
Yeah. Well, my dad and my mom were both going to these like polyamorous
story that I never, and there's this story that I never told anyone that still is somewhat haunting me. My mom came to drink ayahuasca here, and she, after drinking ayahuasca here with us, it was also her, my brother, and my sister, and she told us that she cheated on my dad the entire time. He still doesn't know. He doesn't speak English though. He'll never find out.
Wow.
But it's shook my world.
Really? Yeah.
People cheat. Yeah. That's just what it is.
Well, that's so I had a non-traditional childhood, right? And I can speak about this because of healing. And I really recommend people out there do everything. Go to therapy. If therapy doesn't work, if therapy works or if it doesn't work, go do ayahuasca. Ayahuasca for me was like, so I did therapy. I wouldn't be able to speak about my childhood with you if it wasn't for therapy, because before there was experiences that were like these balls of emotion that were undealt with. And therapy helped me to open up about those, open up so that I wasn't like, the emotions didn't have weight in a way. You know what I mean? It was like, I can talk about it because it's another lifetime.
It's no longer trauma, but now it's just a memory.
It's a memory.
So less of a trauma, more of a memory.
therapy helped me with that. And then ayahuasca, I feel like, cleared out the cobwebs that still existed. There were still some cobwebs, there were still cobwebs, and ayahuasca was like, here, we're going to clear out those cobwebs and it's fucking gone now. And we're not only going to clear out the cobwebs from that past trauma, because there's always going to be some subconscious trauma. We're going to clear that out, and we're going to rebuild you into the person and show you who you are, rebuild you essentially. And when at the end of the ayahuasca experience, I was like a newborn baby, I wrote everything down, and here's where the integration, the boring part is, but I'll just say I wrote everything down, which you guys did such a great job. I will only recommend Loaira, by the way, to anybody that I know, because I've been through it here and I know what you guys do. So everybody that I've been telling about retreats, I say, you come here, and it's the only place I can recommend. I can't recommend anywhere else. I can only recommend here. One of the things that you guys did so well was like journaling, for example. I have this Bible from the entire experience, thanks to you guys, which I wouldn't have done, and I'm sure a lot of people don't do it out there, of every realization, every answer, including my daughter's name, which ayahuasca is like, here's a name.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a name. So in terms of the integration, every morning I read the list. Every single list.
It's so interesting because we have already more than 20 people that tattooed Loaira as a reminder of this experience.
Great.
Like Loaira logo.
Yeah.
Like the one on my t-shirt, the one on the microphone.
If I had tattoos, I would do it too.
Yeah, like this part here, this is Loaira. And but you literally got a name for your daughter from an ayahuasca, and you're gonna call your daughter
Sanoa, yeah.
And it has a deep meaning.
It has a deep meaning.
And from
Hebrew as well, yeah.
But now, basically, every time you say her name, you'll be able to remember.
It's incredible, man.
Crazy. There's no running away from that. I mean, unless you abandon your daughter. That's
No, and that's what's going to make this documentary different, guys. We are not scared of dark humor.
Yeah.
Laughing is good. Like, fuck the war on comedy, man. Like, show it all,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it's been amazing.
You sound like you feel pretty good. So talk to us about how you felt before quitting antidepressants, this journey, and how you feel now, because you've been off antidepressants for 3 months now?
More. Yeah, I think the last time I took antidepressants, I believe, was early January. So we're talking, about 4 months. Yeah, 4 months. Well, how I felt before was, so antidepressants helped me out in a very dark time. And I don't say don't do antidepressants. I think antidepressants can be a helpful tool for a lot of people. For me, it was a helpful tool when I got on them 9 years ago, 2016. The issue is that Western medicine, similarly to thinking of, we talked about, media companies thinking about documentaries as just money. Well, I think the Western world thinks about medicine as just money. And medicine and health as money. That's horrible, right? After I got on antidepressants, there was no question of getting off of them. There was no one was asking me, hey, do you think you might want to get off of them? This is not for the rest of your life. And why would they want you to get off? Money, man. Money. So things are pretty good. I lived a pretty good life. Antidepressants, my anxiety and OCD I got on antidepressants. I struggled with anxiety for years since I was a kid, general anxiety disorder, and moderate OCD. I was diagnosed with moderate obsessive compulsive disorder. And therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and antidepressants helped out a lot. 9 years later, this last October, it just seemed like the antidepressants weren't working anymore, man. I felt just back in the darkness, back in the OCD and the depression and the anxiety. And there is something called depression.
Treatment-resistant depression.
Treatment-resistant depression, exactly. So right before we started really getting into the filming of the documentary, I was in somewhat of a dark place, which brought me to ayahuasca, really, in a big way. And then where I am, I was in a bit of a dark place, or not a bit of a dark place. I was in a dark place, and you'll see that in the personal journals that I did while getting off antidepressants, which wasn't easy. And I was really scared to get off of them. I'm like, what if I go crazy? What if I have to get back on them right away? I'll be embarrassed. I'm fucking insane. Listen to me. So, after ayahuasca, where I am now, and after ayahuasca, well, I've been off antidepressants. So one thing I noticed, I feel a lot more. I was always a guy, and I know a lot of men have this, but I was someone who pushed emotions away and kind of ran from my emotions and didn't, for a couple reasons. I think one was that for work especially, I'm like, emotions shouldn't live in, my work is really intense and stressful, and it's like, but in general, I was with everything, with my woman, with life, I was family, I was always trying to live in the chill zone. And thus I labeled emotions, or I ran from my emotions. I ran from emotions. After ayahuasca, I'm feeling emotions, maybe for the first time, like really strongly. And I'm not running away from them. And it's taking me, it's a learning lesson. It's something that that I am working on. It's like, no, you're fucking stressed right now. That's okay. Like, feel that stress. You can do things like go to the gym, do things to help alleviate that stress, but identify those emotions and don't run away from them. I'm upset with my wife or my fiance. Like, well, instead of running away, talk to her. Why are you upset about it? I'm living with I'm an emotional man for the first time, dude. It's wild. I think a lot of, I don't know, I'm sure women too, but I can only speak as my experience as a man. I think a lot of men, I don't know if a lot of men, but I'm sure, I know some of my male friends feel similarly.
As a person that has thousands of men share, that's the most common thing. A lot of people come to ayahuasca to reconnect with their emotions. It was my intention for at least 10 different ceremonies along the time.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
definitely was able to tune that emotional dial up again.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with emotions. Like, I think that's part of the evil in Western society is we have, and I think it is changing, but that false idea of what's a man. Like, why did I think since I was a child it was bad to cry? I don't know. I fucking learned that somehow.
There were these two doctors that wrote this book. Both of them never had children, but they were basically the people that taught the Western society that you should leave your kids locked in a room if they're crying till they stop crying. The whole sleep training.
I've heard about this sleep training.
You should make a documentary about it.
All right.
It's a true crime documentary.
Yeah.
Because they literally destroyed several generations of humans. This is why we're so fucked up now. It's one of the reasons.
Well, yeah. I'll look into that.
Because kids need to be held, and when they cry, they need to be acknowledged to be crying, and you have to like we go sleep with our kids. I mean, till they're about 1 year old, and then we can hear them anytime they wake up. We go talk to them, So it's like it's not normal to just leave your kids cry for.
Well, yeah. So you have things like that.
That's where it's coming from. And if they ingrained in you that when you cry, your parents get upset, then you grow up, and then especially if you're a boy, it's like, man up.
Man up, man. Yeah. Man up. Dude, I cried in all those ayahuasca ceremonies, and I really wanted to for the documentary. I knew it was important, and it's not like I forced it. I meant it. I was crying out of joy, out of sadness, like for Mother Earth when the shaman, when the Taita was like, gave that speech at the end. I felt like I was crying through, like Mother Earth was like crying through me, dude.
Yeah.
It was, and all that stuff's entertaining, dude. People can laugh at it. I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, but it's.
If you heard yourself speak 5 years ago, it's like Mother Earth crying through me.
Oh my god, dude.
What was wrong with?
I would have been like.
But that's the reality. And
Yeah.
yeah, you guys can, if you're listening and you somehow still haven't done ayahuasca, you can. It's one thing saying, forgive yourself, love yourself, feel the pain of others. It's like, those are just words. But if you drink ayahuasca and you get that experience and you actually love yourself, it's such a different thing. And it's also like, people describe all kinds of different feelings and observations. Like it's a lived experience. Like for them, it's not just word. Like when you say crying for the Mother Earth, you felt it. Like it's your reality now. And even though it sounds crazy, who cares?
It doesn't matter. That's the thing. And like, so we lost so much, and I don't know. I think what the medicine was like saying and communicating to me was like, this used to exist. Ayahuasca used to exist. It used to be part of mankind globally, and it was lost because of religions. I mean, think about just like the Catholic Church and all the damage the Catholic Church did. But all religions, if they weren't using this medicine and they were saying, which that did happen when the missionaries came here and they saw ayahuasca and they're like, yo, what the fuck witchcraft is this? And they try, so this was, what the medicine was saying was, I believe that ayahuasca was part of planet Earth. This ritual was part of Earth, and there was wars and religion, and it pushed it into the
exile
in the toughest place to penetrate, the Amazon rainforest. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it hid there for thousands of years, and now it wants to be known again through us, dude, and through all the other people that are trying to put it out there. Like, it sounds so far-fetched, but it's kind of like the greatest story never told.
Yeah. Some people might say the desire to change the world is like Jesus complex or like grandeur, but it only is a complex if you don't achieve it. And I know
haters gonna hate,
and we will make a dent, I'm sure.
One last thing I just wanted to say is like another realization that I had, and you mentioned it early on, but it really was so clear to me. It's like, if you're out there listening to this and you're suicidal, and you got your plan, like you're going to kill yourself. And I've been in very dark places myself, like, and a lot of people have been out there. But if you are suicidal and you're listening to this, and you have two options. One is to kill yourself, and the other is to come here and do ayahuasca. Do ayahuasca. We need your voice here. We need your gifts. You're gonna kill yourself anyway. Why not come and try ayahuasca? That kept coming to me, dude.
There's nothing to lose. Yeah, just give it a try. If it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back.
Then you could kill yourself afterwards
and
we'll make a murder documentary.
You can't claim the money back because you killed yourself.
You're right. But we can and we'll make a murder documentary and sell it to the major stream.
This is very dark. I feel ashamed.
Yeah, that's very dark. Sorry, guys. We went a little too dark right there. Let's add a light note.
Let's go dark a little bit more.
Okay, more dark.
What is, ayahuasca is not all rainbows and butterflies. What's the most difficult part, or maybe like post-integration when you're like, what's the most difficult part of it?
Really good question, man. Really good question. So yeah, ayahuasca is not all rainbows and butterflies. My dad wants to do ayahuasca, and when I told him, and he's 76, I said, make sure you prepare yourself for the retreat. Well, for the preparation, the retreat, and also the integration element. I think, after doing ayahuasca, I felt, well, first, I didn't, the afterglow was a few days. And it was really beautiful, but it was also scary because it felt like I was just seeing everything for the first time. Like I had a mango juice. It was for the first time. Driving down the streets, first time feeling air, first time making love to your wife. Everything was the first time. And that was amazing. But I felt here, now that I remember, I was scared that I was manic. I'm like, am I like manic depressive? Like I felt so good, like such a high that I was scared I was going to crash. And so I think that, I think that I think the thing about it wasn't necessarily a crash, but I think that here's the boring part. It's just that you need to, Neil Brennan, my good friend, Neil Brennan is co-creator of the Chappelle Show. We became friends through Telemarketers, through my documentary, and he's arguably one of the best comedians ever, amazing writer. But he was kind of like, you and Neil were kind of my master Yodas in this experience. So Neil, we'd be texting, and I was texting him while I was doing ayahuasca here. And Neil, he tried everything for his depression. Super fucking successful guy, one of the most successful people I know. Horrible depression for so many years. Tried everything. Ayahuasca is the only thing that worked for him. And so Neil, when I was texting him about it, he's like, be careful because it doesn't last. He's like, so you need to do things to integrate the experience. He's like, I journal 4 times a day. That's what he told me. And I didn't understand in the moment because I was at such a high. I actually texted every single person I knew. And I was like, you got to go do ayahuasca. Like that's where I was at in the moment, like right coming off of the ayahuasca.
That's why normally we don't allow people to use their phones.
Smart man. So, because, yeah, and a lot of people were like, I'm never doing that. You're fucking crazy. And other people were like, that sounds pretty cool. So I think the transition into real life is difficult. Especially like I'm a guy that luckily doesn't have a boss, but my job is really stressful and my boss is an asshole. I'm a tough boss on myself. I think going into the office, let's say you do your ayahuasca experience, then you go back into the office in New York City, like the day after, I wouldn't recommend it. I would say take a week off and work on your integration plan. How are you going to integrate the experience so that you don't lose it? For people that have done DMT out there, you smoke DMT, it lasts for like 5 to 15 minutes. And if you don't write it down, like it's gone, like you're not going to remember it. I think ayahuasca, to make it last and to have a really smooth transition back into your normal life. Like I was taking meetings the day after, like we're in the afterglow. And I think what I would say is that wasn't the right way. I should have gone a little slower back into quote unquote real life. What I'm doing now, a month and a half in, is I have this morning routine, and again, talking about some hippie shit, but I wake up in the morning, I do a 10-minute, guided meditation. Then I do like a 10-minute yogic breathing, like one of these Wim Hof type of things. Then I read my entire journal. I organized all the points because I'm OCD. So I organized like all the things I learned into a Google document. Like really profound lessons. And I read them every morning. And then I take a cold shower, then I eat breakfast, and then I work. So I think things like that have allowed me to transition better. But it was like, I didn't know exactly how to transition. How do you go from the most profound experience of your entire life back to the fucking office? I think that could be hard for a lot of people. And it was hard for me. It wasn't,
Yeah, like in the perfect world, like last month, for example, after all the retreats of the month, we did an integration retreat. It was like a 5-day yoga, meditation, relax. And like, honestly, out of 90 people we had that month, only 12 people stayed. So it's like, because integration is not sexy. Ayahuasca is sexy.
Ayahuasca is very sexy.
people don't want to do it, and myself included. Like, well, I'm kind of also busy, so
I felt like,
but it's like,
Yeah.
well, if we can get more people to do it, then it would be, because for me, like, I would do an integration retreat after every retreat, and so people stay. But it's also, I would also prefer people to do a 1-week retreat versus a 4-day retreat. The people are busy and some of them only can do a weekend, and it's still better than nothing. So it's all about this society we live in where
busy.
jobs, busy, it all puts us in an unhealthy way of living. Because, I wish maybe post-Ayahuasca, like imagine there's a world before Ayahuasca and post-Ayahuasca, all of a sudden, 160 years from now, it was an Ayahuasca day and everyone drank Ayahuasca on the same day.
Let's go. I want it to happen.
Next day, the planet woke up and everyone was conscious and loving, and we redid the civilization where money is no longer the main priority, right?
Oh, I like this.
It's called utopia.
Beautiful.
But let's say that happened, and all of a sudden you can actually do stuff that doesn't make you money, but you're still fine. At least you're full of purpose, and you can somehow, sounds like communism, but
I like where you're going with this.
I was born in a communist country. Actually, my birth certificate has a crescent, hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
But no, trust me, I don't want this to happen again. So, but figure out something new
that works.
Maybe with AI, blockchain, psychedelics, all mixed together. There's some kind of paradigm.
I like it.
It just works.
I like it.
Let's say nobody needs to clean bathrooms because robots do it.
Sure.
Right? But everyone can paint and they can drink psychedelics and integrate, connect with the earth.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty...
Yeah, I fuck with
pretty hippie existence. But because right now, I'm running a spiritual business. I help people overcome depression. I'm a nice guy, but I need to make money.
Sure, of course. Soon
I'll have to raise the price.
Sure.
I pride myself into saying we are one of the most affordable trees, but it's like, if I don't have money to feed my family or to build and improve, it's like money ever. It's like, and when you think about money, when you think about business, you automatically have to be a little greedy, because you have to every little...
I'm making 10 murder documentaries. So for everyone listening out there, besides this ayahuasca documentary, I got to feed my kids. So I do have 10 murder documentaries on the side, just so everybody knows.
That's my poor.
No, I was just kidding.
But
well, you know what? If someone, but you're right. I'm in the same boat. I totally get it.
Pick up a crime documentary, like a murder documentary.
You're not gonna judge me.
I know you're gonna make it less evil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But I may have to pick up. And what I'm trying to say is, I get it. I may have to pick up a murder documentary.
So it's not.
I gotta pay the bills
it's not
too.
The people. I don't think that they're representatives in the pharmaceutical companies. They go to the doctors and they say, if you sell my drugs to people and you sell a lot of them, we'll give you a kickback.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they're evil. Their company told them that's good medication. Maybe they believe in it, but they need to make money. And
Sure.
It's like the system is rigged. So we need to figure out how we can how to get to the point where being authentic and being purposeful does not go against you surviving. Because if you're just
yes, and it's so interesting that you're saying this, because it's exactly what I'm trying to do with film, man. And it's not the easy way. Even if you raise your prices a little bit, you're still going to be 10 times more affordable than a bunch of retreats we won't name in Costa Rica or Mexico or in the States, right? You have to, one of the things that, you have to, we live in a culture where we have to make money. We both have kids. We both have families. And money and it's really interesting. I think that there was a few different subjects. One is that I don't think human beings are living the right way. No, I think that I like business. I always liked selling things as a kid. I used to buy I used to sell fucking pipes to smoke weed when I was 13, or buy fake Rolexes in New York and sell them in school. I always like business. Like I do like business. But I think it's like, you don't want money to dictate your mission, I guess you could say. Like you don't want you want to be able to have something here that's affordable. You've told me many times, so that it's not just rich celebrities like some of these other retreats that are spending a ton of money. You know, you want people to be able. The people I met at your retreats are everyday people, and that's a beautiful thing. You're spreading this experience to people, to everybody. You know, I think that's an amazing thing. And then in a similar way, it's very similar. In a similar way, I could only do murder documentaries, and I'd probably be a very fucking rich man. But I'm following, you know, I'm following my vision. I'm still making money from documentaries. It's still something that I got into it because it's my passion. I could probably make more money fucking installing air conditioners in New Jersey, or doing being a mechanic or something. But you know, it's interesting. And then yes,
nothing against mechanics.
Nothing against. We love mechanics. Is there a society out there that exists, maybe, that isn't a money hungry focused society? Yeah, there's got to be. And that's another documentary series we can do. We can go and see what are other ways that different indigenous people live that have lived for thousands of years without money. You know, how do they live? You know?
Yeah,
we got deep.
For me, it's like everything I hear, I kind of view it through ayahuasca lens, and like, how can you fix it with ayahuasca? And you see everything as a script for a future documentary. That's because it's your purpose and I have mine. So we do have to wrap up. You talk very loudly, and the ceremony is about to start.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for the work. Thank you for the passion. Thank you for listening to me and actually doing ayahuasca. And yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man.
3 years from now, after we win that Emmy.
Everybody out there that's listening to this, yeah, stay tuned to both Sam and my social media for just more updates on this documentary. We haven't been posting too much about it, but we're really working hard and really excited about this one. I think it's going to be a wild, fun ride for a lot of people, including ourselves. We're having a blast with it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for having me here, brother. I'm so glad we met, and that life is fun. People out there listening, like, go have fun, like follow these paths, you know. When you open yourself up and actually get in touch with some of these medicines, things start to unfold in very interesting, exciting ways. You know, life is not meant to be boring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not here just to sleep, eat, and shit. There's more to it. And ayahuasca is one of the easiest ways to reconnect with that. So on that positive note, thank you, Sam.
Thank you, my friend. It's great.
And
that was a good one.
See you in the next episode.
Okay, great. Thank you, brother.
Guys, as always, you've been listening to Ayahuasca Podcast, your host, Sam Believ, and I will see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support us and psychedelic renaissance at large, please follow us and leave us a like wherever it is you're listening. Share this episode with someone who will benefit from this information. Nothing in this podcast is intended as medical advice, and it is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This episode is sponsored by La Huayra Ayahuasca Retreat. At La Huayra, we combine affordability, accessibility, and authenticity. La Huayra, connect, heal, grow. Guys, I'm looking forward to hosting you.